Yeah, you got it.
There we go. There we go. So yes, I think there's a buy in here. I've not tested it, but obviously I was trying to take that sell. Didn't pay too much attention to the higher time frame stuff. So one of the, I mean, I marked this a long time ago. I didn't have this marked just because I wasn't paying attention. Um, but obviously, one of the four rules, and probably the main one is obviously the live structure is the high and low on this one until it's broken. So none of this is a valid pullback for me. Not on, I mean, this I've got this marked as my 15, so I know we're on the four at the minute, but this is what I'd class as my 15. So obviously that's the high. That's clearly the low. So until the high or the low was taken, this is the valid 15-minute structure, and obviously it takes it here. These push up candles here. So that at that point here, have we got a vertical line? No. Just do that. So from that point there, we are technically 15-minute bullish. Yeah, to the right of that blue line. Bullish.
Yep.
Up until that point, this is still bearish, and obviously, if I remember rightly, I was actually trying to sell around here as well because we did get some breaker structure to the downside here. So originally, where's my zigzaggy stuff? So originally, I fell for this. Let's do one. Turn it dark. So we did have a bit of a change to the downside on the 1 minute, or a trap set that, you know, I fell for. So we did get some form of mitigation of something and some sort of pull away still. So I can't remember what I had now. I can't remember if this is the one that when I was up here. So yes, there's a mitigation of something up here. I think it just pipped me out or something anyway. Took a loss, I'm sure I did. It's just before Christmas. So it mitigates something anyway, so still a valid trade. Just it wasn't the one that was gonna go and make a new 15-minute low because obviously it did decide it was going higher. So from the point of this, obviously it's bearish to the left, bullish to the right. So one of the obviously confirmations we often talk about is from the structure highs, which is obviously these two that I've got drawn. If you drew a level line across, uh, these two orange lines here, I'll put the other ones on. Yeah, we can see that from around in this sort of zone here, we pick up some momentum, we start leaving imbalances, and then we take the live high at this one, and then obviously we've got this other one marked as well, which is a 15-minute valid structure because it takes that low that puts in the high. So obviously we're bullish for this two swings. We change to the downside, start making bearish swings. Um, and before it comes back to the zone that took the first high, obviously, and then the second one. So this is responsible for both of these highs being taken, which means that this is a good area to mark up and possibly catch the buy from for the next 15-minute bullish swing. Obviously, once it taps your zone, you'd want to see bullish lower time frame structures. So obviously, this is the big whole leg is 15. So and then these little bits inside become our one. Um, so what you do is from that, obviously you'd need to be marking your structures, mapping it, whether you mark them like this, because I do it for you guys. I can just spot it, so I don't need to mark them. But once you, even if you put a line on the top of them or the bottom of them, if you're looking for bearish ones, you could just set alerts at them, sort of thing, or just if you if you look at your charts most days, if you got a chance to flick through a lot of them, obviously you can mark them on a night time or whatever if they've taken a high or low. Spend a few minutes just going and looking at the areas that are most likely with reasons, I guess, as well to that you think it's going to come back to mitigate, and then give you further confirmations before taking a trade. So this is also going to be like obviously the structure going upwards is bullish. This is also a one or lower time frame structure low as well. Causes it might come lower at some point still, but who knows? There's a good reason for it being here. I've not marked it up. I don't know what that is at the minute, but I'm assuming there's probably a trend line or something. There'll be liquidity and a sweep of at some point. I don't doubt it. There you go. That works. Yeah. See, build up liquidity, takes it, becomes the new structure low. Obviously takes the lower time frame structure high, and also then like leads to taking the high that we were just talking about. So how I'd mark the zone. Obviously, I've roughly marked this. It's just marked from at the minute is the wick low of the zone that leads up to the break, the 15-minute high break. Um, so let's turn that off. So that's it. So at the minute, as you can see, I'm just on the 2 hour here. I must have marked it for this little to cover this in to not just to cover, sorry, the order block that creates this little imbalance in here. I don't know what that looks like on different time frames. Let's have a quick check. Uh, yeah, so you could get a bit lower on the 15. So you probably want to cover this order block that creates this little imbalance. And I think that would be the lowest imbalance, clear imbalance. Like there's maybe a touch down here. But you won't want to do it so tight that you completely miss the zone in case it doesn't tap in. So this is a decent looking push from here. I'm not going to reduce the zone to that, but I'm going to put that on it because I'm assuming that catches the overall low. Yeah, perfectly there. This one's market open, so I'm not sure. I don't think I'd count that. Some would, some wouldn't. I would pretty much ignore it. But the fact that this tap in here is about perfect into that imbalance we just spoke about in here, I'm assuming that's the actual thing it came for. So you let's say you marked your zone, it's done all the other stuff, took the previous 15-minute high, it's come back, your relate's gone off at this point here. We can, let's assume we are there. Your relate's gone on, you're looking at your phone, you come on, you've just familiarized yourself with the rest of what's gone on. You've had a quick look. We're at this point here. You come back on your chart and go, what do I want to see now? So there's a couple. Obviously, I've got this little lower time frame structure marked, breaker structure marked here. That one there was marked if dependent on um, whether you counted that spread hour wick or not. So to be on the safe side, obviously you'd go to the one above it. Maybe even this one here if you wanted to be super safe. I don't think this one gets taken though, but this is news as well, so I don't really know how I feel about news. wicks. If you was not to count news wicks, then obviously the high would be that one there or that one there. I think that one there, that about the same. Yeah, that one there. I don't know if that gets taken. I'm not sure. But anyway, if if you'd have set the later one of these, I think this meets the rules. I know there's this low that gets put in. I mean, that's spread hour as well, is it? Yeah, that's spread hour anyway. So a lot to contend with. Obviously, spread hours and possible Newswicks. I don't. It's I've not I've never tested Newswicks. I'm happy that spread hours are dog shit on FXCM feeds. So I've not tested it on others, but my thought on it is I believe I believe the system goes from obviously New York at 10 and then it goes to Sydney. Obviously, I know that's the session it goes to is Sydney. So whether that changes computers or whatever, I don't actually know. Um, but I view it as just it's just an hour of system changes or something, or nothing happens. I mean, we can't place orders at that time, so I'm assuming others can't. So it's just a black hole of an hour, I guess. So where orders and things are not happening, so it's probably just shouldn't be counted all across the board. Yeah, it's. I mean, I imagine it's risky if you did count it. So I ignore it. I advise you to. But anyway, you'd come back on. You'd mark the relevant 1 minute highs that you wanted. Obviously, avoiding spread hours and things like that. Um, and then again, like I say, you just set an alert at that, make your marks across or whatever, and you just wait for it to be lated. You'd maybe want to set another alert just below in case price came and did this. It might do pull back to there and then take the low again. And then obviously your alert would get triggered. You could come back, move one your 1 minute structure high that you wanted breaking to that point. And this is gonna happen fairly regularly unless you're marking the like 10-second imbalances in all this leg, but there's a lot of price action to look through. So if you're doing that, you can sort of about pinpoint the imbalance you want to see filled. um, but yeah, it's probably just easier to sometimes, like say, just mark a couple of alerts, wait until one triggers, and then move it accordingly. So I'll move that back there. And then obviously if it does take the low as well, again, I know this one doesn't and it's spread, you would then want to wait for that, obviously, to do that. Yeah. And your entry would be somewhere in this. We know it doesn't do that right now, though. So, what speed are we on? Let's slow it down because I'm a fucker for playing it and it going too fast. So, you would have set your alerts. Obviously, that's assuming you would be catching them live. Speed that up a bit now, kind of. It's market change. Like I say, this doesn't count for me. So that there. Uh, all that price action doesn't count for me. That there. That blue box wouldn't count for me. So, because obviously that's 10 till 11 and it's market open as well, which means that this is the current live low because it's the lowest point from one of these highs being made. So I ignore that. Delete that because it's not the 1 minute high. Oh, it's frozen. You bastard. I knew it would do that. Did that do that all on all your screens? Like,
Yeah.
yeah, see. So yeah, so I'm just gonna go back a touch. Uh Play two candles. There we go. So yeah, I mean, this might be something worth looking at. So this would have been the 1 minute high if it wasn't for this, which was news, I believe. Which means that because ideally, if you look at that structure, that's this being the high is the better option. But I don't think this takes this high. So which means if you would have been waiting for that, the trade wouldn't have been like live or valid because it doesn't take this high. So that might be worth something I'll check over the next. Not that it's a common occurrence anyway, I don't think, but it might be worth checking um news if it's ever made a high or low, and if it counts it as a structure point, or at least if it gives us it obviously on if this doesn't take this high and then comes back and gives an entry like obviously it taps something in all this because I know it does from this obviously. Um, but if I see this again where I think that would be a banging trade, but it appears like it doesn't do the 1 minute break, but then realize that the wick that doesn't get taken is the news wick, then it's maybe something I'll also start ignoring as as a structure point as news, but needs testing. But we're definitely worth a look into that. So that aside, let's just say we ignore it for this one. It's taken the high anyway. Let's say it's all we've got to do here is just find an entry. So obviously your alert would have gone off at this green line. From there, obviously you'd open your screen again because you'd not been sat watching it. You'd literally just be coming on and trying to find an entry. So you open your screen, you're happy, it's done what you want it to do. Obviously, we are avoiding any kind of spread hour price, which isn't live because this is the spread here. That's just spread out, so it's not affecting this. We're not, obviously, we don't believe in this, so pretty much we would then look for an entry in all of this up to that point there. Yeah, that, no, don't do that one. So what I do is I'll come on the five and I'll mark some rough areas of what I think will possibly look better. So it's just the same as anything. It would be decent push up, bit of imbalance. Obviously, just on the 5 minute for now. Mark up some areas. We'll check these. We're going to check everything on the lower time frame as well, but I'm just trying to rough out some areas. So this down here is definitely worth a check. I'll check in that in the highs as well. Obviously, if we spot any liquidity, that's also another good place to start looking. And then I don't think anything else looks too major on the lower time frame. Now, from there, I'd probably you could drop to the 1 minute if you really wanted to. I'm just going to drop to the 10. And there's probably because you're off, so I'm going to fly through it a little bit because it's just what I do on my lives. We're just going to start reducing some of these zones. So So obviously there's that decent push there. There's a little something under here going on. Obviously I'll check that on the 5 at some point. That's why I've put my zone to there because I don't know what's going on with this candle here. Maybe check that as well. Doesn't look the best on the 10. So from that point there, we go straight across. I don't think it's any good. Mark it for the sake of it. Can always take it out. Gonna mark that to there. That about fills that, so I'll remove it in a minute. I'm gonna leave that blue. That fills that. Nothing major. I like the look of him there. Comes into this. Decent pushes here. Quite like both of them. You like, hear my kid crying?
No.
Sweet. Yeah. Push away from here. There's a little bit going on down here. Um, reduce that to there. And is that all of it? No. Yeah, decent push away from here. Fills that in there. So I'm gonna leave that one because that one's a bit rubbish. I'm just gonna run over some of them on the 5 second as well. Now, just bear with me. Obviously, I've not actually checked this over, so and I'm not spending near enough as much time as I would if I was taking it. So quite like that one. um, one over here. Quite like this one here. Also like that one there. What I'll do is I'm gonna keep the ones green that I actually do like, turn the ones blue that was a marked up but then dislike. I'll jump back on the 5 minute anyway and maybe discount a few more as well. Let me fucking how I was now. Draw a line, draw a line.
Why don't you like that blue one, Lee?
I, I, I
It's
kind
got
of,
the
I kind of do. Yeah, I think I
yeah.
do, mate. Um, yeah, I put it blue earlier because I don't know why. I, I changed them from. I think I marked one above blue.
Okay. I was just what color you had on active.
Yeah, and then obviously the
Yeah,
rest of them started going that color.
fair enough.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm gonna try and delete a couple at least because right, I'm leaving this one blue. I'm not bothered by that one. I don't think there's a little something there, but not substantial enough. There's no reverse side, so there's no BPR as such. Leaving that one, I wouldn't put my money on that one. And then we come a bit further right, left. Okay-ish. I don't think I put my money on that one. And this one's a bit on the crappier side, so I'll turn that one blue. I think that was the lowest one we marked. So there's a fair few still. Right, so obviously at this point, George would be looking for liquidity. I don't tend to bother. Um, so we get the break above here. It's not quite, is it? It's not good enough. Yeah, I mean, I think if I was putting my own money on, I'd be. I mean, obviously, I think all these that are turned blue are not the best. So I think if I was guaranteed to put my money on, I think I'd put it on this lowest one here. Um, but yeah, there's a couple of like quite a few good looking zones. Um, where is it? So go 2.5. See what we end up with. Oh yeah, I get wiped out because it's that one. It goes to there, doesn't it? So it's just below that one. I'll jump off that anyway. Yeah, so I'd have just been wiped out if I'd have put it on. Oh, go back. Do that. So, yeah, let's take a look and see what it actually taps into. I'm gonna clock. No, barley play. So, doesn't look like anything there. Close, but not quite. I don't know. I don't think I'd have ever picked that, to be fair. Um, yeah, no, I'd have never picked that. I don't even know what that's tapped into. So that would go down as a one that wouldn't have picked anyway. No idea what it's tapped into. Yeah, just I suppose in the end, lucky I wasn't watching it because I'd have either taken a loss or I wouldn't have caught it anyway. So
Because I only just missed that trade,
yeah,
and I have two entries marks. Mine were
Yeah,
lower
yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
I missed the trade anyway. I got the 1 minute break and then I totally
yeah,
forgot about it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I wouldn't have got in it anyway. Mine were lower.
No, it's
The thing is, I was looking on the 5 second and 1 second. There's loads of imbalance, to be fair,
yeah,
and a lot of it was taking liquidity. So it's like I think it was just one of them. But like you've just seen there, didn't tap into football anyway.
no, 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 no. I mean, I think we spoke about it quite a bit before. Is this is the it's the most important part, I guess, because it's the one where you're putting your money on. But there's, I mean, I consider myself pretty fucking good, but like, there's no telltale. I mean, I've not spotted anything that's anywhere near 100%. Like, it's like as Matt says, it's not a science. Like, imbalance fills is the closest thing to accurate that I can see. So so when it taps into like nothing, yeah, it's. I mean, it's obviously difficult to.
Just figuring out what it is tapping though, because I think no
Yeah,
matter what, it's going for something.
yeah. So I mean,
Unless
look
it's
at
that tick thing that Matt was on about, we'll have to start paying for
yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, I'm sure someone said you get It was Tom. Tom messaged me. I think with the futures stuff, you get ticks on that included in your monthly membership or whatever it is that they pay.
I'm
But
just figuring out what a candlestick means, mate. It's just one
yeah,
second
yeah,
at a time, eh?
yeah. But yeah, like when it comes to entries, it's the most obviously it's the important part, but it's the same as anything. Like nothing's perfect. An imbalance is the closest I have seen and worked out. Let's say because sorry, someone's just messaged something. So mate, it's just loading the screen up. Being gay. Um, is it all imbalance you look for after a major push? Yes, mate. So obviously, what I've basically just done is I've marked all the obviously on the 10 second. I started on the 5, but went down to 10. So I believe that only imbalance is visible, like real imbalance is invisible somewhere from the 1 second to the 15-second chart. So the imbalances on so this black line is what's tagged into an entry or something. So on the 15 minute, like there's no imbalance to view. Maybe way obviously that's the new that's spread out, so that won't count. So if we looked for say 15-minute imbalance, the only visible stuff is here. Gets filled there. That's a lot. Yeah, so if we was looking for an entry once price hit this point here, the only imbalance you can see on the 15 would be this zone here. So that leads you to think that it's not come for 15-minute imbalance because obviously as we looked on the 10 second, we see that there was this obviously above all these green zones was decent 10 second and 5 second imbalances. Which obviously they are only visible on the seconds chart. So my belief is that if they're there on the seconds charts, they're there, whereas none of them are none of it's visible on, like say, the 5 minute, 1 minute, or whatever. You know, it all changes, but it never changes. It's always there on the say the 10 second or the 5 second or 1 second. So that's real imbalance. Looking on say the 4 hour chart and going that's an 4 hour imbalance is it might be there might be an imbalance in there that's on the seconds that it actually taps out into on a 4 hour imbalance, but it's not the 4 hour imbalance that it's tapping into. It's after whatever it's happened on that five or 10 second chart or whatever. So the seconds charts is, for me anyway, is majorly important. Um, and people just believe that the charts are coming back for these 15-minute imbalances, but I don't believe they are for a second, mate. So obviously an imbalance is, we believe it to be, obviously all these would have been bullish imbalances created. Obviously below them all would have been these order blocks that we just marked. And then they obviously need to be a significant push. So what a significant push indicates is an injection of money and orders, same thing. And the people that we, the only people that we know would be able to move the market like that would be banks or hedge funds or something like that. So people that have got, I don't know, 500 million, a billion, a couple of billion to move the markets in this way. So when it comes to looking for an entry, we're looking for signs of where big money was injected. Now, on this occasion, it's not easy to see. Obviously, it's this black line, but the idea is that everything below here was balanced and irrelevant, and at the point that that imbalance is created here, the banks or the system or the algo, whatever you believe, it's just coming back to mitigate. So basically, this is all buy orders. Let's say they want to get maybe some sell orders, so the price comes back to collect them last remaining empty or sell orders. So that's what we believe the science is about it. Like I say, on this occasion, it's not clear to see on any time frame. But I don't know what it's actually tapped into on this occasion. That might mean as well, though, that it might eventually come back and tap into one of these. I don't know. I would say it's risky now. Obviously, it'd be nice to catch it on the first sort of major pullback. And but what we could do from here as well is so if we look at I'm going to come on the 2 hour, but I'm thinking my 15-minute structure is if that's the 50-minute structure was made from, obviously, because this is where it gets taken. So this was the live one until the higher low got taken. It's been taken. If we now assume that, sorry, bear with me. If we are now, well, not assume, anticipate that this was the 15-minute pullback, because obviously we turned bullish. Let me just change that color as well. So, right. So if we anticipate, sorry, that was the 15-minute pullback. Obviously, we was just looking at a trade to try and get in at the pretty much at the bottom of the 15-minute low, if this is the new structure. So at some point, price will pull back. Obviously, it did its lower time frame thing all in here. But the next, if this is the 15-minute leg as it currently is, we would maybe expect price is going to pull back into something and then create a new high. If that's obviously going to continue bullish, if it does that, price can pull back anywhere from this low, obviously, to the high it makes. So, like I say, we'll just assume that's the current high. It might go further still. It can carry on for a few days if it wants to, but as far as this high goes before it pulls back, it can technically pull back anywhere up until this low before and still remain bullish. So there is scope and then a chance that it will pull back into one of these lower zones I marked, and this was just an early move. So still possible it will come back to a lower one. But if it does, obviously I say that is the high, puts there. If it doesn't pull back to these and it just pulls back up to somewhere, say there, at the point it then retakes the high it makes, that once it breaks that point, coming back down here is very, very risky, I would say, because obviously we've had, we would have then had another 15-minute break to the upside. And if it does come back down for something lower, we we would have potentially had a 15-minute break to the downside. So we are maybe a 15-minute bearish if it comes lower. That's not to say it's not where it's going to react from, but it just depends on if it did that, it would come back up, so tagged into something. Your trade would only be that range there, because obviously it would then come mitigate something up here before then selling off. Yeah, so that would be if it was to go now after another break to the upside, this leg here would be the maximum you should hold, because like I say, there'd be a break under this structure here. Rather than obviously if it comes back sooner, you could maybe catch this leg, something like that, which is a much bigger push because it's with the direction. And technically, if you was happy as well, even if that pulled back that deep and you wanted to hold from here, you can catch a couple of swings. So let's say if he's got 2 or 3 more swings, you could possibly catch a monster move that comes way up here. But obviously the pullbacks are brutal, so I would just recommend catching the leg. Yeah. But then obviously we'd get into the 4 hour structure and things as well if we start taking 2 or 3 swings on the 15. I think I'm very keen, so I'm keen to see what we get happening roughly where we are now. There's a possibility that we will mitigate something in this zone. Get on the fucking thing.
I was just going to say I've marked all that and it's just mitigated it now.
Yeah, I've not looked, but there's a good chance that we will.
It's coming to the top of the 4 hour leg, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. Well, that's my 15. Pardon me. That's my 15-minute high, but there's. I'll come back to it in a sec. Let's have a look at the daily. Take off bar replay. Yeah, so there is reason to believe that this is, like, say, a major high. We have broken to the downside with a couple of major lows in here, a couple of 4 hour or major 15-minute levels. We have broken to the downside in these. So if we, the chat's a fucking mess to be fair, but if we just pick this last structure here, so there, pull up there, pull back there, pull up there. We've taken this major low here. I don't know if that one takes it there or not, but we do have this sort of structure that's formed. I'll turn it darker in a minute. So we do have potential for something like that appearing. Let me just turn that blue. Yeah, so we've got like this structure. So we've had a couple under here. So we are possibly a good sell from up here. And I did think, I don't know if that's mitigated. I've had this marked for a while. I did think it was going to come and tag into this originally when this was here, and it hasn't. So my zone marked might have been wrong, but at the time I was fairly confident it was coming to here or at least lower into sort of somewhere in all this here. So that would make sense if it does mitigate something up here and continue this structure going on. So we do have a high, lower low, lower high, lower low, coming up to maybe a new lower high. So somewhere up in this leg an imbalance will get filled. We'll get a lower time frame break to the downside, and then obviously it'll come back up and tag an possible entry. So, is there any questions on that, guys? Because if not, I'll call it about there. What about there?
No, not now.
Good thing. Lots to chew on there. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. All good. All right. I'll call it there then, chaps.
Thanks, Lee. Good night, everybody.
Cheers,
Yeah.
guys. Thanks for jumping on.
Cheers, mate.
Have a good week, everyone.
Cheers, Jack, mate. Thank you.
Hit it late.
Cheers, mate. We're off Tuesday, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tuesday.
All right, mate. I'll see you at normal time, mate. All right.
Yeah, all right, mate.
Sweet.
Bye.
Cheers, guys.